Have you ever noticed that many people admire Jesus, quote Jesus, and wear symbols associated with Jesus, yet often ignore some of his most challenging teachings? The Sermon on the Mount, found in Matthew chapters 5 through 7, is perhaps the most famous sermon ever preached. It contains some of the most beautiful words in history, but it also contains commands that are so radical, so countercultural, that even many believers struggle to put them into practice. Today, we're going to explore the Sermon on the Mount and discover why these teachings are still revolutionary and why they may be the most ignored words Jesus ever spoke. Picture the scene. A crowd gathers on a hillside overlooking the Sea of Galilee. Farmers, fishermen, laborers, mothers, children, and religious seekers sit on the grass. They expect wisdom from a teacher, but what they hear changes everything. Jesus begins to describe a kingdom unlike any kingdom the world has ever known. Not a kingdom built on power, not a kingdom built on wealth, not a kingdom built on revenge or status. Instead, he describes a kingdom built on humility, mercy, forgiveness, and love. And that's where the challenge begins. Jesus opens with what are known as the Beatitudes. He says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness." This sounds completely backwards. The world says, "Blessed are the powerful. Blessed are the wealthy. Blessed are the famous. Blessed are the winners." But Jesus flips the world's values upside down. In God's kingdom, true greatness begins with humility. Those who recognize their need for God are the ones who receive his blessing. This teaching alone challenges modern culture, where self-promotion and pride are often celebrated. Jesus teaches that spiritual strength begins with recognizing our dependence on God. Now we come to one of Jesus' most difficult commands. He says, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Think about that. Jesus doesn't merely say, "Don't hurt your enemies." He doesn't even say, "Try to tolerate them." He says to love them, to pray for them, to seek their good. This is one of the least followed teachings in history. Human nature tells us to retaliate. If someone insults us, we want to insult them back. If someone hurts us, we want revenge. But Jesus calls his followers to a completely different path. Why? Because God himself shows kindness even to those who reject him. Jesus teaches that when we love our enemies, we reflect the character of God. This doesn't mean approving evil. It doesn't mean allowing abuse. It means refusing to let hatred control our hearts. That is far harder than it sounds. Another famous teaching is found in Matthew 5:39. Jesus says, "If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other also." Many people misunderstand this verse. Jesus is not encouraging weakness. He is teaching his followers not to respond to insult with insult or violence with vengeance. In the ancient world, a slap on the cheek was often a public insult. Jesus is teaching his followers to break the cycle of retaliation. The natural response is revenge. The kingdom response is self-control. The world says, "Get even." Jesus says, "Choose a better way." And that's incredibly difficult. Give without seeking recognition. Jesus also challenges the desire for public approval. He says when you give to the needy, don't do it to impress others. When you pray, don't do it for attention. When you fast, don't advertise your sacrifice. Why? Because God looks at the heart. Many people focus on appearing righteous. Jesus focuses on actually being righteous. The Sermon on the Mount repeatedly warns against religious performance. It teaches that true faith is not about looking holy in front of people. It's about having a genuine relationship with God. In an age of social media where every action can be displayed publicly, this teaching may be more relevant than ever. In the middle of the sermon, Jesus teaches his disciples how to pray. The prayer begins, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." Notice the focus. The prayer starts with God, not ourselves. Then Jesus teaches us to ask for daily bread, not years of supplies, not endless luxury, daily bread. This encourages trust in God's provision one day at a time. The prayer also includes a powerful condition: forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Jesus connects receiving forgiveness with extending forgiveness, and that's another teaching many people struggle to follow. It's often easier to receive mercy than to give it. Yet Jesus repeatedly emphasizes forgiveness as a central characteristic of his followers. Jesus then addresses money and possessions. He says, "Do not store up on this earth, but store up treasures in heaven." This doesn't mean possessions are inherently wrong. It means they should never become our ultimate priority. The world often measures success by wealth, status, and material achievement. Jesus measures success differently. He asks, "Where is your heart? What do you value most? What are you truly living for?" Then he gives a statement that remains deeply challenging. You cannot serve both God and money. Many people want both. Jesus says eventually one master will win. One of the most comforting sections of the Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' teaching on worry. He points to the birds of the air. They do not store food in barns, yet God feeds them. He points to the flowers of the field. They do not labor over their appearance, yet God clothes them beautifully. Then Jesus asks, if God cares for them, will he not much more care for you? This doesn't mean we stop working or planning. It means we stop allowing fear to dominate our lives. Worry cannot change the future, but trust in God changes how we face the future. Even today, anxiety and fear affect millions of people. Jesus offers a different perspective. Seek first the kingdom of God and trust him with tomorrow. Perhaps one of the most quoted verses from the Sermon on the Mount is, "Judge not, that you be not judged." Jesus is not forbidding moral discernment. He is condemning hypocrisy. He describes a person trying to remove a speck from another person's eye while a plank remains in their own. The image is almost humorous. Before criticizing others, Jesus says we must first examine ourselves. The message is clear. Humility before criticism, self-examination before correction, mercy before condemnation. This teaching remains deeply relevant in a culture where people are often quick to expose the faults of others. Near the end of the sermon, Jesus gives a sobering warning. He says the road leading to destruction is broad and easy. Many travel it, but the road leading to life is narrow and difficult. Few find it. This is one of the most challenging statements in the entire sermon. Jesus is teaching that following him is not merely about agreeing with certain ideas. It requires transformation. It requires obedience. It requires choosing God's way even when it conflicts with the values of the world. Jesus concludes with a powerful illustration. Two men build houses. One builds on rock, the other builds on sand. Both experience storms. Both face wind and rain, but only one house survives. Why? Because it has the right foundation. Jesus explains that the wise person is not merely the one who hears his words. The wise person is the one who puts them into practice. That is the entire message of the Sermon on the Mount. Not admiration, not information, transformation. Jesus is not simply offering inspiring advice. He is calling people to a radically different way of life. The Sermon on the Mount remains one of the most influential teachings in human history, yet it is also one of the most neglected. Love your enemy. Forgive others. Reject hypocrisy. Trust God instead of worrying. Seek heavenly treasure over earthly wealth. Treat others with mercy. Build your life on truth. These teachings challenge every generation because they challenge human nature itself. The question is not whether Jesus' words are inspiring. The question is whether we are willing to live by them. Because according to Jesus, the difference between a life built on rock and a life built on sand is not hearing his words. It's following them. And that may be the hardest teaching of all.